So, I recently made a short showing off this new Class C ship I made. And a few of you wanted to know how to build it, or a little tour around the ship, so here we go. And I know, in my recent short I destroyed it, with the magic of old saves, here we are. And starting with some small info on the ship. First off, the cost. The game tells me it's worth 324,000, but I reckon you can get it for a little bit cheaper. I started with this massive Varun ship that gave me a lot of the parts I used, so if you can, try that out. And at the time of building I was piloting rank 4, and Starship Design rank 1. Let's have a look at the stats. It's got a hull of 985, the shields are 690, the cargo is 2180, max crew is 4, the jump range is 22 light years, mobility is at 83, top speed's at 130, and a big boy mass of 2347. Most of this can be changed just to suit what you're after, adding less or more cargo to make it faster, and upgrading the ship parts for almost anything. I also built this whole ship in my outpost using the ship builder pad, and the only part I didn't have was the larger habitats that came from the Varun ship. But without any more waffling, let's show you how to build the Falcon Mark II. So as I've done before, I've split the ship into different floors, hopefully making this easier. To start, we're using the 120 LD landing bay, then having 7 of the Stroud Eklund landing gears connected to the landing bay like this. Then 2 of these Stroud Cap A's upside down connecting to the front of the gears, and 2 Galleon cargo holds connected to the back, and finally 2 Deimos bumpers on the last landing gear to round it all off. On to layer 2, starting off with a single hab as they're connected to the landing bay, then a Nova bracer and a Nova weapon mount connected to the front of the hab. Then 2 more Nova braces connected to the back as well. Then you're going to need 8 of the Stroud cowling, and to put the front 4 on first, facing outwards. Then the back 4 connects to the front 4, but the connection's facing outwards, like this. Then again, 2 Stroud Cap A's at the front of the ship overhanging the bottom level. Then the Titan 550 fuel tank on one side, and the Aurora 12G grav drive on the other. And 2 more Stroud Cap A's and 2 Stroud Cap B's, as they'll connect like this onto the grav drive, but not the fuel tank, so put them to the side for now to use later. Now for the third layer, starting with more Stroud Cap A's on top of the ones below, and the Viking cockpit should fit right in the middle. Then onto the habs. First the 2x3 Stroud mess hall directly behind the cockpit, then a 2x2 living quarters behind that and to the left. And just so you know, those might be the harder ones to get, so you might have to go straight to the Stroud and Eklund Star Yard for those. But back to the build. Then a 2x1 armory next to the 2x2, a 2x1 captain's quarters and a 2x1 infirmary that connect further back on both sides like wings. Then again, more Stroud Cap A's. If you can't tell, I really like these. And this is where you can finally put the pieces from the last floor underneath, like this. And get some of these Nova cowlings, which are the same pieces but in different variations, to connect to the side like these. Then to the engines and the reactor. The engines are pretty awkward to put on as they take up so much space. I put 2 on the back of the wings, and put 2 at the back of the ship just peeking over the habs. And finally the reactor in between both of those engines. And the last step of the third floor, 2 more Nova cowlings facing backwards. And finally onto the final floor, starting with Stroud Cap C at the back of the ship covering over the reactor. Then a Nova bracer in front of that with a Warden SG-200 shield generator on top of that. Then more Stroud Cap A's, both sides of that, facing backwards, and 2 more facing forward, with the docking bay in between them. Then a Stroud Nose Cap B in front of the docking, then 2 more Stroud Cap C's, half onto the back habs, with a Nova cowling in front of them. And the finishing touches, 2 small Nova radiators on the outside of the ship. And that's it, with all systems working. Now it's time for the tour. Entering the ship, you start with a storeroom, with the dreaded ladder that heads straight into the mess hall, which leads straight into the cockpit. But if we head straight back through the mess hall, we come into the 2x2 living quarters.
Do you need something?
And we take a swift right into the armory. And if you carry on straight through, we get to the captain's quarters. And then on the opposite side of the ship, the infirmary. And that's the tour. Now for some combat. The ship's got 2 Alpha auto turrets, 2 auto Gorse guns, and 3 CE-49 missile launchers. So it makes light work of enemy ships, even friendly ones. So that's the build. I hope you guys enjoyed, and let me know if any of you end up using it. And let me know what you want to see next.